Hey man, you heard of that Chelsea club? Oh yeah, they're decent, you know. Haven't won the league in a couple decades, but they're up there. I wonder if they'll ever... They just got bought up by a Russian billionaire as a pet project. You know how you buy model trains and waifu pillows? It's the same thing. First of all, I told you that in confidence, but fair enough. Hey, so you heard of that Chelsea club? Weren't we just... Anyway, I saw this tweet the other day from Kieran Maguire, go-to account by the way, talking about the highest spending seasons per club as per their public accounts. Chelsea make up 2 of the top 3. Are you aware that you can't just start a conversation like that? Adjusting for inflation, they fill all 3 top spots. They have spent almost £400 million in the summer and winter windows of this season alone. Okay, now that is interesting. Yeah, not only that, but since Abramovich took over, they've won more trophies than any other club in England. Why are you telling me all this? Is there a problem? It sounds like these guys are crushing it. Well, about that.
It's 2-1 to Fulham.
Chelsea is a very strange football club. They went from a good team that won the odd domestic title, was in and around the UCL places and had the odd title push, to a globally recognized and elite team almost overnight, 2 decades later, and they remain in that bracket. When Roman Abramovich bought Chelsea in 2003, the purchase price was £140 million. That's right, back in the day, Chelsea roughly cost a little more than one João Felix, which is a statement that means more than it should due to recent events. There have been growing frustrations at the bridge that have only gotten bigger and bigger in recent times. Chants of Roman Abramovich and Thomas Tuchel by the support when they lost 4-0 to Man City in the FA Cup a couple weeks ago paint a telling picture. If you need more evidence of how chaotic things are, it only took 58 minutes for João Felix to be burnt out and request some leave from his new employers. On the real though, there are a lot of reasons for why the Blues are in the state that they are in, which is exactly why we're going to take a look at just a few of those reasons to create our own assessment. With that being said, what is going on at Chelsea Football Club? Yo, what is going on everyone? Really hope you're doing well. I'm Tinashe and welcome back to the channel. I think before we properly get dug in, it's probably worth taking a quick look at a few numbers. Thanks to Manchester City, Chelsea have been knocked out of both the FA Cup and the EFL Cup in their opening matches of both competitions for the first time in 34 years. They are in 10th place at the midway point of the season and have put out some truly awful performances so far. I mentioned the 4-0 battering versus City. It was hard to watch at times, which means that their best hope for silverware at the moment is the Champions League. And I'm not gonna lie, it would be very easy to completely write them off due to how things seem to be going. But at the same time, that's what I did in 2012. I did the same in 2021. Both seasons saw a change in management and a poor showing in the league. Having said that, things seem to be a little bit different this time around. Players are underperforming, making rookie errors, and to make matters worse, it seems like the inners of the entire squad have turned to glass. An injury crisis to rival the worst of injury crises has absolutely riddled the team. Just look at this starting 11 of players that have faced injuries so far this season. Funnily enough, I don't think it's a stretch to say that this team on screen would probably be doing better than 10th in the league. Chelsea's misery seems like it's been compounding for a long time, which I gotta admit is a little bit strange to say because like I've said, as recently as 2021, Champions League silver was wrapped in a blue ribbon. A collective effort, yes, but a direct symbol of unprecedented success brought on by a certain Russian. Thomas Tuchel joined a destitute Chelsea in January of 2021, and his influence on the club really can't be understated. Heralded as a master tactician, communicator, motivator, no shade to Frank, but he just was not that guy. And I guess still no shade to Frank, but it looks like that is still the case. For now. Tuchel raised the bar by almost every metric immediately. He came in exactly halfway through the season, picking up 38 points in the second half versus 29 in the first half, going from 9th to 4th in the league. A strong start to the 21-22 season made it seem as though Chelsea would continue their upward trajectory in Tuchel's first full season in charge. this did not happen. I feel ashamed to say that coming off some much needed success in Italy, I was convinced that Romelu Lukaku was ready to actually be consistently good for a top PL club. I should have known better. We all should have. He wasn't the only problem though. It was a season marred by controversy, confusion, and inconsistency. By match week 14, Chelsea were in pole position, only suffering 1 L, but after that, everything on and off the pitch took a hit. We had the infamous Lukaku interview where he essentially confessed his undying love for Inter Milan and sneak dissed Thomas Tuchel while actively being a Chelsea player. Strange behavior. Chelsea continued to drop points and were out of the title race almost as quickly as they put themselves in it. Then later, as the conflicts between Russia and the Ukraine cut deeper and deeper, Roman Abramovich's ties to Putin and the Russian regime led to the freezing of his assets and further sanctions. As Abramovich was being dragged down, one such asset, Chelsea Football Club, was on course to being dragged down with him. Ticket sales had been frozen, company credit cards had been frozen, and worst of all, apparently, there was a point where they could not buy fuel for the team bus. Guys, you can't make this up. They were literally forced to park the bus. You already know Jose was shedding a tear somewhere. Chelsea was put up for sale, which was certainly a shock to the system for Chelsea fans across the globe. The man who put them on the map in more ways than what was probably thought to be possible was being forced out. Not gonna comment on the man's character because who on earth knows the actual details for what got him to the point that he's at today and what shady dealings he was involved in to that effect. But from a purely footballing perspective, best thing that ever happened to Chelsea. No doubt. Always present at home games, poured billions into the club in an era where huge football club owners all seem to be profit first, results later. It seems he always advocated for the other way around. No one can deny that he genuinely loved the club. Regardless, it was the end of an era. Out went Abramovich, and in came a consortium led by a handful of names and organizations on the 30th of May 2022, the most publicly prominent of which was American Todd Boehly, £4.2 billion. Now that is a lot of FIFA points. First thing that I think we should focus on are the things that the new regime changed from the outside looking in. Nothing. Nothing had changed. I'm kidding. A lot had changed, but spending and a rolling managerial hot seat was not on that list. In their first transfer window in charge, Chelsea's new ownership broke the bank. £271 million in one transfer window, more than any other Premier League side has done to date. You'd think that such an investment would have a favorable return, right? Well, I think that Chelsea probably thought the same. By match week 6, the Blues were sitting in 10th and went on to lose their opening Champions League match of the campaign. All of us already knew what time it was. Tuchel was sacked on his 100th game in charge, a year and a half after delivering Chelsea's second Champions League. Friction between him and the new owners was the furthest from subtle that it probably could have been, and I guess a large part of that has to do with the almost hourly leaks that were coming out shortly after the takeover. There were issues with communication. Tuchel eventually delegated attendance for meetings on recruitment and such to his coaching team. A clear out of club personnel during this transitional phase meant there were dozens of changes in staff, key staff, which we'll get into a bit later. Tuchel was reportedly being asked to advise in areas that weren't his expertise and felt precious time was being eaten up that could have been used to coach his team. There were issues with alignment on the recruitment strategy. A notable story that came out involved the new owners apparently being interested in Cristiano Ronaldo when he was quote-unquote available. Possibly remembering his time at PSG with the likes of Neymar, Mbappe and co, he might not have been ready to onboard another megastar. He also probably didn't think that Ronaldo fit into the team. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang arrived instead, a man Tuchel had worked with at Dortmund before. They were united for about 60 minutes before the German was shown the door. There were issues with the use of youth. According to The Athletic, Thomas Tuchel gave 0 minutes to teenagers in the 21-22 season. At the end of the day, it seemed like there were issues with what was liked and what was not liked. Thomas Tuchel did not like the new owners, and the new owners did not like Thomas Tuchel. All the same, this all came as a surprise to the guy. Obviously, I was in the wrong movie. I did not see that coming. That's why I'm angry with myself. I did not see that coming. A guy who, despite all the turbulence surrounding the club while its owner was embroiled in geopolitical controversy, including reported assassination attempts, steered Chelsea to the final of both the League Cup and the FA Cup, as well as third place in the league. They may have finished 18 points off of second place Liverpool, but third is third, especially considering the circumstances. Again, tough. With Chelsea's season off to a less than favourable start, it was about to be shaken up even more. Graham Potter, manager of Brighton since 2019, was chosen as Tuchel's successor in September of 2022. After discussions with Brighton regarding the sale of Marc Cucurella, Bowley, who was already a fan of Potter, was seemingly convinced of his abilities to take over at the Bridge long before Tuchel was out the door. Here's the thing though, Potter had done exceptionally well at Brighton, finishing as high as 9th in his final season in charge. He's shown a lot of promise, but he is also a manager that has won 0 major silverware and also has no experience at a club the size of Chelsea. And since taking over, for now at least, these doubts have proven themselves to be warranted. Chelsea have certainly seen better days. However, why should Potter shoulder the blame? Sure, he's played his part, but there is evidence to suggest that it all goes much, much deeper. Just about everything at Chelsea changed almost overnight. The ownership changed, Bruce Buck, chairman of the club since 2004, was out, Marina Granovskaya, chief executive for the last decade, was out, sporting director Petr Cech chose to walk. Even the physio and medical team was gutted as long-standing backroom staff were replaced. Given Chelsea's extraordinary injury record thus far this year, that last one is quite worrying. And then we have the transfer strategy, or rather, lack thereof. Look, Chelsea have always been big spenders, and at times it's even seemed as though their spending has been directionless. But, in my opinion, that has been the case far less than the opposite over the years. I look back to the first time Chelsea won the EPL in 2005. Only 4 of the 14 most featured players in the starting 11 that year were at the club from before the mass spending, which started a season prior. Over the years, senseless spending has persisted, but so has sensible spending. The trophy count speaks for itself. Then again, a big part of the sensible spending, by most accounts, was ex-CEO Marina Granovskaya, negotiator extraordinaire. On that note, the horde of new employees both on the pitch and off the pitch have raised a hell of a lot of questions. What's going on? What is Chelsea trying to achieve? Is there a plan? Spending 400 million on one season by the midway point of the January transfer window, with the likes of 100 million rated Enzo Fernandez apparently a high priority, will only add to the general public's uncertainty. Chelsea have certainly upped their game when it comes to nurturing and giving opportunities to their youth in recent times. Obviously out of necessity due to the injury crisis, but also likely as part of the overarching plan. And listen guys, the new owners are very clearly all extremely successful business people. I mean, they'd have to be to get into the position that they're in. There is obviously some sort of plan, no doubt about that. But I think it's safe to assume that, so far, this plan doesn't seem to be working out as intended. It seems as though this sport is littered with owners who have no prior experience when it comes to football, proceed to buy a football club, and then proceed to get humbled by the intricacies and differences that the sport has when compared to, let's say, other more traditional industries. Man City are successful now, but the first 3 years under the City Football Group had its pitfalls. Everton were taken over by Farhad Moshiri in years gone by and have been splashing the cash ever since to no real avail. Things ain't looking too good that side either. More in line with current times, a recently taken over Newcastle are up and competing in record time, I must say. If people are giving Man United the title contender label, Newcastle is just as deserving, maybe more so, judging by consistency throughout the season. The notion of foreign, more specifically American owners coming into the league and being bad is one that's picked up a lot of traction over the years, and while there is some truth to it, in my opinion, I think is a little bit harsh because it's not always the case. Let's not forget that Liverpool weren't in the best of positions before being taken over by their American owners. Then again, their owners before FSG were also American. I guess what I'm trying to say is that results can certainly vary. Everything needs to be treated on a case-by-case basis. For Chelsea's sake, one can only hope that this case turns out to be a successful one. And there we have it. Let me know what you guys think about Chelsea and their journey through obscurity. Feel free to follow all the socials. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.